Kennis, so nice to be with you. How are you?
I am good, Rich. How are you? So
Good.
nice. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come to this.
Hey, it's my honor. Absolutely.
Thank you so much again. So for everyone out there, Kennis works with Valley National Bank.
Yes. Correct.
Awesome. So without hesitation, let's just start. How did Kennis get into the banking world? How did you end up getting into this world?
It's actually kind of funny. When I was in school, I told myself I would never want to be doing banking. It's so boring. I hate numbers. Absolutely not my kind of thing. And then when I was in college, opened a newspaper in Chinatown. I was like, all right, what can I do? And then there was a secretary job in Chinatown for a mortgage broker. So I just like, all right, let's just go check it out because most of the immigrants will come and just trying to be in the restaurant business and stuff like that, and they just don't want to be. So I want to be in the office, working environment. And then I met the mortgage broker in Chinatown, and he was my mentor. And
Which one was that?
He's still actually in business.
Actually, cool.
Yeah, he used to be a top sales in Citibank and opened his broker shop, and his name is Tony Mark at Positive Service. So I learned a lot, went to school full-time, and then...
Where'd you go to school?
Baruch.
Baruch, okay.
Yeah, so took the subway, scoop in and out, you know.
Where'd you live at this time?
I was living in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And then, so went to work in the morning, then took the subway full-time school, and then took the subway back down to Chinatown to work for the rest of the day, and then that's how usually it works for the whole entire school year.
Wow. When did you go? If you don't mind me asking, what year
Oh,
were
you're trying to age me?
No, not at all. My wife went to Baruch.
Oh, I went to Baruch in 1993.
93 to 97.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so she was before you. She was
Yes.
88 to 92.
Got it. Right after, probably. Yep.
was-
But I didn't really meet anyone because the school life, there was no school life in terms of meeting people. Literally was just full-time work, school, and then weekend is just homework. But it's okay. I met a lot of people from work-wise.
Interesting. But Baruch back then was day and evening classes, right? You
Yes.
can go to either? Because I went to John Jay. I went to John Jay Law.
Yes, I took some evening class. I definitely took morning class, and then so I can work.
Awesome. So you start taking classes, and it's geared towards the mortgage world, accounting world. What is it geared
It's
towards?
because I actually, was working in the mortgage broker firm when I was in school. So it's very naturally that when I was at work, I knew that maybe I already learned a lot of things. Let's just go to the next part. Let's just move over to banking. So because it's a broker world, so you do business with different bank. And that's when I met many reps from different bank, back to Immigrant, Bank of New York, actually not Bank of New York, Republic Bank. And then we get to the reps. And then, hey, any opening?
Mm-hmm.
So I gave them my resume. And then I got my couple interviews with different banks. And then that's when I eventually working for Republic Bank.
Oh, so you wanted to get out of the broker world.
Yeah, because after a certain time, you know that there's a ceiling, right? That you need to I want to learn more. I want to expand. So that's when I actually left the broker firm and started working for the bank.
What year was that?
That was in 95.
Oh, so you're doing this since the 90s. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought you were like
I
when I
aged,
came in.
no, I've been doing this like as soon as I started working for the broker firm. Yes.
Wow. I honestly thought you came in the same time as me in like mid-2000, early 2000s. So you're here since the 90s. That's interesting. What were the rates like in 95?
Ooh.
And what was the world like in 95 in Republican Bank?
Most of the time, FHA was basically almost none, okay? And then what happened was the interest rate would be around about 9%, around 1993 to 1995. And a single family conforming loan is less than 100.
Wow.
And I remember seeing how it changed, so, and down payment typically will be 25%, and I still remember one in contract from Chinatown, from one law firm to the other law firm, because back then there's not really email, right?
Of course, yeah.
And but we learned a lot from there, and then we, start working for the bank. And I started working in Republic Bank in November. The day after Thanksgiving is my first day working for the bank in 1995.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I bought my first house in 97. I believe my interest rate was roughly around 7-8% back then.
Yep. It's definitely, in 1997, the interest rate starting to move a little bit. down, and then but the market wasn't really moving crazy yet, as you remember.
Correct, yeah.
It's been pretty steady, just inflation a little bit up, but nothing go crazy. And I think it really starting to take off around after 2000. Because I bought my first house in 2000. I told everybody. People's complaining about interest rate nowadays.
Yeah.
I said, I work for the bank. I bought my first house in year 2000. I paid 8.75.
8 3/4. Yeah, same time. Yeah.
You know, so it's really not that crazy. Compared to what, of course, the dollar amount is a lot bigger. But in terms of interest rate, it was the normal rates back then.
That's
People
right.
are not complaining because they used to pay 15% in the 80s.
So we bought our first house in '97 on a police officer's salaries, and my wife worked for a marketing company at that time. But our first house was a townhouse condo, and I think in 2000 we ended up selling it, but we doubled our price because that's when it started. Where if you bought, you held on to it for 2 or 3 years. They changed the laws where you're able to use it as a tax break. So we took that money and then we rolled it into our next house, which was in Katona, and I think we paid something like 7-8%. Same time, 2000, 2001, right in that time. 9/11 happened. One of my neighbors across the it was basically in the cul-de-sac, so there was 3 houses. Paul McEachran was like a senior VP for Bank of America at the time. Guy on the end was senior VP for Sports Illustrated, and then me, the police officer and retired police officer, and my wife in the marketing world and doing her thing. And we all went to Paul because Paul was able to get us this crazy interest rate back in the day. I don't know if you remember this, in like 2001, 2002. We got a 20-year fixed, and I believe it was for 5.25, and it was a bank special. And the bank and family, where everyone was paying 7, and we were able to get in on a 20-year for 5.25, I think it was, and we thought that was great, and it was amazing. And like a year later, he was so pissed at me because a year later I sold the house, and he was like, "I wasted a rate on you because of this." So explain, like, what was that? Because I'm still curious, because I wasn't in the real estate game back then. I was still, doing my thing, owning a security company, doing what I did. What was the world like back then, like in the early 2000s in the banking world?
Well, so in the year 2000, the world is still actually starting to take up after September 11, right? Going back similar to...
Well, we all thought the world was going to end in September 11,
Well,
especially with the
Y2000,
banking.
right? Yeah,
Y2K, remember that? So what was, to explain that
My
to
son
the
just
people.
asked me yesterday,
Yeah.
I'm going to a Y2K party, some sort of things. I need to dress up. What is Y2K? Like, seriously. I said,
So what was that like in the banking world? Let's talk about that a little bit since you brought that up.
The banking world actually was a lot more steady. It was not as crazy. We are kind of starting to get upward, like you say, right? You bought the house in around 2000, 2001, and then you just flip it quickly, roll into the newer house. Same thing what I did. It's starting to kick off because I bought my house in year 2000, and then I sold it in 2003, getting 125, 150,000 equity. I bought it for 250,
Yep.
240. I sold it for 375, something like that. But the point here is that it's starting to got up, and then everybody's starting to see there's an opportunity to make money. Mortgage brokers becoming mortgage banker, and then small bank kind of becoming getting more volumes. And I would say that this is when I see the beginning of the explode for the real estate of where it got to all the crazy products.
Oh, that's insane.
Well, Wall Street starting to jump in right around 2003, 2004 because of how much equity in real estate is starting to go. I think it has a lot to do with the Y2K mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
People think it's the end of the world.
Remember that? Yeah.
Oh, and nothing happened. The stock market is going up. So people making so much money that they all starting to think, hey, this is a big place to make money. And this is when the landscape of banking is starting to change. That's why they have Wall Street coming in, offering products. Back then, I can say to you that, we at Republic in 1995, 1996, we're one of the few regional banks that will do something called light doc. Light doc means just get a CPA letter. We don't need to see your tax return. You put 25% down payment. Back then, when I start doing mortgage, which there is no credit score.
Wow.
This is how I look into credit report line by line to understand what's their credit worthiness. We don't go by credit score. But then Fannie Mae and then credit agency starting understanding credit. People have a little bit more educations, and then they have the DU system, which is an automated underwriting system to take the human portions away, just to analyze the risk of the loan. But back then, they just take from 1996 with no system, implement everything automated with credit, and then with the underwriting decision system by DU. Back into then 2002 to 2004, everything started to, if Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac say that the system is approved, they have good credit score, then let's just give them a mortgage. That's when Countrywide come in fast and easy,
Remember
right?
that? Yeah.
And then once fast and easy come, every single person's trying to come up with their own product similar. And then Wall Street jump in.
Did you work for Countrywide?
Never.
Never worked with them. Okay.
Never.
Most of the people in this area did, though, right? Most of
To a portion. As I've been doing this so long, I can almost tell you who from
Yeah, me too,
where
yeah.
with the whole resume,
Yeah.
But I never worked at Countrywide. I was, after Republic was taken over by HSBC, I went to work for Bank of New York.
Oh, okay.
Bank of New York did not have a wholesale divisions. They only have retail presence. So
That's right,
then
yeah.
the director from Republic took over a good 15 people to open the wholesale divisions for Bank of New York, which is 49% owned by actually another mortgage company down in Florida, and then 51% owned by Bank of New York.
Okay.
So, but that part is giving me a lot more visions of, it's actually outside from Republic Bank, there are other ways to do mortgage. Because when you just started new, you don't know. And that's when things continue to move. There are different programs and products out there, right?
So 2003, they start coming out with a light dock, right? Same thing, 2000, I believe it was 2001 to 2003. We sold our house at the same time, 2 years, 2.5 years. We moved to back into Queens. We bought, I think it was like our first REO. We bought it, and it was in like Malba Gardens, Malba area in Whitestone. And remember getting that place for a steal. It was crazy at the time. And we ended up buying that home again, stayed there for another 2 or 3 years, and then we moved into the home where we have now, and obviously very comfortable because of all the money that we made by buying and selling them, with that way. What was the difference between 2003 and 2006? Because that's when anybody and anyone can get approved at that time, right?
Yes.
I remember going in with 50% down. I was in the real estate game now. I just got into it, and the brokers were like, "What are you, crazy? Spending that, putting that much money down? Put down nothing." And But my goal was to pay off my house by the time I lived in my permanent residence. So what was it like? Explain that to everyone, because not too many people realize.
It's there's a full glass, right? Half full and half empty, really depending on what's your perspective. A lot of what we are doing today happened between that 3 years. Why things are, everyone's complaining, why it's so difficult to get a mortgage sometimes, why there's so much paperwork, right? Because that was too extreme. It's way too easy. Good times always make lazy people, right?
Correct, yeah.
And then what happened is profit is why there. Every mortgage company, Wall Street, trying to be greedy, trying to make the pricing as cheap as possible. And then you also have what bring the market down is really not about no income. It's about the coffee product, the MTA product, the neg end products.
When did that happen in what, 2008?
That was way around
2009?
2003 and 2006. Absolutely. The neg
Oh, it
end
was.
starting within that time. Because in addition to just a 5% down payment or 1% down payment, they wanted to make the mortgage payment even less, because they're banging on two people will be flipping the house to 2-3 years so that they will have equity. So they do a negative amortizations, pay 1% interest rates, right? Which is not even
Remember
going to
that.
cover the principal and interest.
That's right.
And so people do the 12 months MTA, the NetGam, and Washington Mutual.
Yep.
And then Credit Suisse, the two bank that comes up with the products, with the index. And that is when actually beginning of the end.
And it's funny you said that, because I started working in Astoria at that time. I started, when I was an agent, I was working with a smaller company called America's Bravest. And back then, any deals that I can come up with, I would jump on. And I bought a few houses in Astoria, same thing. I remember going to the closing table, and imagine this happening today, where it was zero down, but I was getting money back at the closing
It's
table.
crazy.
Right, where you were getting a 6% seller's concession, coming out with a house, pretty low payment because you're right. We had a 1% interest rate or whatever, and then getting money back where you're getting $20,000 back to buy your next house if you wanted to use it or if you did it again. It was insane, but. And what I ended up doing, I didn't hold on to it. That was my silliness in me, where I should have held on to every single property, but I would just flip them after every 2 years. And that's the way the market was. But what would you prefer as a mortgage? Like, what was easier?
Easy in terms of process
For the person, for the individual.
for the individuals.
But it was dangerous, though, right?
Yeah, so the thing is like some people like to gamble, some people just not. So that is going to be hard to gauge. Everybody has their own. You have to be comfortable of what you do. But I would say that if you are somebody that is more a risk taker, real estate, of course, people will. Right now I always say it's a great time. Real estate is always great. Because no matter you're a risk taker or not risk taker, this is a tangible assets.
Yep.
Right? Unlike I am not a stock market person. Asians' culture wants to hold something tangible. But real estate is something that no matter you're a risk taker or not, it's always a good investment to have. No matter the interest rate was 15% or is it 1%, it's a matter of you have to look for opportunities. So I think right now is still a great time. And it is easier right now because so many resources for people to understand what's out there.
Okay.
Back then in the 90s, you really don't have that much resource to understand what's the comparison. Somebody could have just lied to your face. You wouldn't even know. And that's why people, when there's a will to make quick money, there will always be people may not have the best intention.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the reason why back in 2003 to 2006, while making money in real estate mortgage business is so easy, there are a lot of not as good people out there putting other homeowners at risk and painting the wrong picture to them that they can afford it and then don't care about whether or not they can pay it if the interest rate change higher. They only care about they can get the money from that transactions for their own needs.
Why do you think that happened? Was it because Wall Street got involved? What do you think was the reason? Because those were the days, and I don't mean to bring up banks' names, but like Lend America was involved. Remember them, Lend America? They went out, I think, at that time, right?
Many actually Lend America, everything that is going back. That's the reason why after CFPB formed in 2007, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is an agency formed after the collapse, is to make sure that there is a standard of how the real estate mortgage industry is supposed to be. What sort of documentations that you're supposed to confirm the ability to repay as a bank who lend money to the consumer. You're not going to set them to fail. It's not for your own gain, a mortgage broker, mortgage banker, or as a bank, a mortgage company. Because a mortgage company, I always try to share with my referral partner, there is a difference between us. A mortgage broker, a mortgage banker, and a bank. Like I work in a residential department in a bank. We do full service. We have board of directors that we're responsible to. We are not going to be just trying to make a few loans and have a bullseye on us. Our reputation is more important. We have to make sure our shares per stock, everything is performed. So that it's different than a mortgage banker or broker. They just shut down and just maybe start another name. We have a lot more at stake to worry about. So doing the right thing is always important. But back then, when you were not in that pool, all right, it's shut down. I'll go to another place.
That's right.
Far and few between, there are people who may actually go to jail for doing things that may not be the right thing, putting everybody at risk and stuff like that.
When did that come down? That was 2000.
Since after 2007, that's exactly when the CFPB come down.
So it
and
was 7 or 9 when they really started to take action.
The collapse actually started from when ABC, American Broker Conduit, which is the Royal Canada Bank,
That's right,
subdivisions of that. That was when the people at the closing, that people buying their first home, let's say, and all of a sudden, all the money is gone because it just went under.
That's right. That
So
was 2000.
That was, I believe, in August or September of not 2009, it's 2007.
Oh, it's 7. I was going to say 10. Wow.
Yeah, it's
And then,
not that late.
all right, so you're at Bank of New York.
Uh-huh.
And I remember that. I think I had a mortgage with Bank of New York back in the day. When did you decide to leave Bank of New York, and what happened there? Like, what was the transition after that?
So, funny story was me as a manager, as one of the 2 people that the director from Republic brought us to open the team for wholesale. And we also have the California divisions back then with Bank of New York. And I thought there would be a good opportunity to grow. Me, I'm always wanted to grow. That's the reason I left the mortgage broker firm to a bank, and then from a processor to learn to be an underwriter, to have my own team of the whole operations, and then pick with a minority in a very religious Jewish bank to be one of the 2 managers to start a new division is actually, looking back, was pretty amazing.
Yep.
But then I felt that my opportunity will even be greater if I will go and start a new divisions in California for Bank of New York. And so they shipped me out there. I start talking, but then we are $5,000 apart from the negotiations of moving my whole family. My son was born already. I plugged my whole family, my life, and moved out. We're $5,000 apart. So I just said, you know what? That's okay. I think if you don't see my value, I will find someone who see my value out there. Back then, I did not go to California. I stayed in New York. I left Bank of New York, and I actually bought my first house. I was doing so much work that I barely just go home and see my son. So then I decided to leave there and then find a job back on the island.
So now you're still at Bank of New York.
I
In New
left
York,
Bank.
though.
I left Bank of New York, but I still in New York, and then I find a job in Astoria Bank.
Oh, okay. Astoria Federal or Astoria?
Astoria Savings Bank,
Astoria Savings.
where their mortgage operations still on Marcus Avenue in New Hyde Park.
That's
New
right.
Lexus S.
Is it Astoria Federal or Astoria Savings? Is it the same bank? Or?
It's the same.
It was the same,
Yes.
right? Okay, so you go to Astoria Savings.
Uh-huh.
This is what you...
It was in 2002.
Oh, 2002. Mm-hmm. Okay, now take me through that now. So 2002 for how long?
2002.
When did we meet?
We met in 2015.
Oh, I thought it was earlier.
Yeah, I think because we were still in Williston Park.
Yes.
2015.
Okay, so 2002.
2005, 2002, I was in Astoria. I was an underwriter. And then I worked for...
So you became an underwriter at that point?
I was an underwriter at Republic already.
Oh, you were? Okay, so you were doing
I
mortgages.
already have my certification to get Republic as an underwriter in 1998.
Okay.
And so I already have all those experience, and it's easier to get that job as an underwriter because starting to boom, right? I told you 2000 starting to boom. And then I started working in Astoria as an underwriter after I left Bank of New York as a manager, just to move back on the island. Same pay, even more pay, closer to home.
Oh, perfect.
I mean, I remember at 4:45, people starting to leave. I just said, what? It was like I left Bank of New York at 9:30 at night in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I got home by 11, So to me, it just something is not right. And so I started doing the second job, too, to do underwriting on the side for Bethpage.
Oh, wow.
So then
I them well, too.
Yep. And so I went to, I got a couple loans here, just like a freelancer underwriter for Bethpage, and then they need a manager, and then they recruited me.
Okay.
Then I left Astoria and became the managers for Bethpage, and that is when I left back into management.
Okay, so now you're in Bethpage. That's what, 2005,
That would be
2006?
2000, not too long. I think it was 2003, because it was too boring in Astoria. I can't stand. I just had to get going,
Yep.
So I think it was 2003 or so. I was in Bethpage.
Okay, and then from there, when did you meet Sean?
Oh, that was one more stop. That's where I will be. So after I work at Bethpage, I worked for Bethpage around 2 years or so. That is when I got a recruiter, Rich Simmons. He
Okay.
is a recruiter that recruited me to work for Emmett.
Okay.
Because Emmett is back then looking for an ops manager for his mortgage broker firm called
remember
First
that.
Allied.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so I went to interview. Me and Emmett click. He think I would be the right person to bring his mortgage company to the next level. I left Astoria, and then I left Bethpage, and then I started working for First Ally as the ops manager.
That's funny. Wow. How
Yep.
long did you work with First Allied?
I worked for First Ally until when Sean came to the picture, and in 2009.
So First Allied,
I was
that
at First Ally for 6 years.
was that a branch off of Wells Fargo at the time? Or?
No. So
was
at
it?
that time when I worked at First Ally, we were only a mortgage broker. And then
Okay.
Emmett told me his vision. He wants to become a banker. He wants to be licensed in Florida, Connecticut, New Jersey, and New York. And so then I had the opportunity to learn and figured out how to turn from a mortgage broker firms into a banker for 4 different states with license. So dealt with a lot of regulations and dealt with each state banking department. And then in the meantime, of course, won the shop, won the shop for his 11, 12 different real estate company.
Yep.
And that's when
That's when they were all still together, obviously, and
yes,
they were in
there
Williston
was
Park. they were in
absolutely
New
Williston
Hyde
Park.
Was his dad still around?
Tom wasn't as active back then already. He's already retired.
Okay.
All the boys were basically taking care of the business.
Sure.
Emmett's the one who runs the business, and then of course Philip and Mark, every one of them. So that's when I met the Laffey brothers.
Okay, that's awesome. And then from there, so you're working for First Allied, and then I think Element had DE Capital at the time, right? So
Right.
real estate companies were starting to bring
Yes,
their own banks in.
I think that's when things like to do. They call the joint venture JV.
JVs.
Yep,
started,
the JV starting to become a thing.
That's
okay?
right.
And so I believe I have the book. I really want anything and everything from First Ally, so I know what's going on. And I still now today credit back to Emmett and to Sean. I did not know when he snuck in and get the book and had those meetings with Sean that I wasn't aware of. And then I remember October of 2009, that was Irina Paczynski is one of the partners
I know she is.
in First Ally, and me never take lunch, and still today I still don't do lunch. I remember Irina told me, I'll say, Munchkin, that's my nickname. Irina called me Munchkin. Munchkin, let's go to lunch. I said, something is wrong. Why are we having lunch? So not even to the elevator, I already got her out from what's going on and become First Ally and will become a JV with Wells Fargo.
That's right.
And that was Monday. I remember she said to me that they do not, if once we merge, there is no need for a manager anymore because we'll become Wells Fargo operation.
Interesting.
So that was actually in 2009. I bought the house that I live right now in 2008. So panic. A single mother getting a big mortgage. What am I going to do? Really, the world go upside down. And then I remember Emmett and Irina told me, we met a guy, Wells Fargo, the guy that we met with, his name is Sean Cassidy. I think they are also, Wells Fargo, thinking about getting, expanding, and I heard that they may be looking for a manager of some sort. We said a lot of good things about you, and then, this is Sean's number. Try to give him a call. And I still remember that was Monday, Tuesday. We set the meeting up to meet at 8 o'clock Wednesday at the hotel at Marriott by Coliseum, the one right by Nassau Coliseum. Right there, we had Wells Fargo had a big meeting there. So I went 8 o'clock to meet with Sean and the whole entire gang. I had a 4.5 hours interview with 14 different people.
Wow.
And then they offered me a job on Friday with a pay cut, everything less. But I didn't have a choice. Either you have no job
Or you go do this.
or do this. So that's when I started at Wells Fargo working with First Ally for 2 months with the transitions. And then I was with Wells Fargo from 2009 until when I...
So now, just so I'm clear, are you an underwriter still, or are you now in the?
Oh, I've been
world
in
of
ops. I've been in ops.
Operation now.
I've been in operations, But as an ops manager, going back to one thing, just like if you are car dealerships,
Yep.
I know how to put the mechanic together. If there's something needs to be done, I know how to get those all done. So underwriting, processing, pricing the loan from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, closing the loan, closing package, those are basically all my experience all into one thing.
So that's around the time when I guess mortgage companies and real estate companies started teaming up.
Yes.
Okay.
When DE Capital is part of the Element,
That's correct.
and then actually funny is that's also when Ace went and met Dottie.
Yeah.
He
remember
was
that.
actually my manager at Wells Fargo.
Oh, so Ace was your manager at Wells?
Ace left Bank of America, become one of my
Remember that.
area sales manager for Wells Fargo, and that's when I met Ace.
He took over for Sean Cassidy.
No, he did not.
Oh, he didn't?
No, it's two different. Sean's the Long Island area sales manager.
But wasn't Sean running Queens too? Or?
Sean, actually, the area was so big
Yeah, that's
between
what I
all the
meant.
Long Island. So that was not, because at that time, they had to divide, redrawing the map. So
Yeah, I don't mean it in a bad way. I thought
Right.
Sean was just so
Sean
overloaded.
was so big with the
Long
Long
Island.
Island. That's the reason why Wells said, you know what, we should have managers for Queens and Brooklyn.
That's when Ed was still running.
Ed is still one. Ed till the end.
Ed's still there?
Ed just retired.
I thought so, yeah. I was,
Yeah,
okay,
but
good.
but Ed's been the regional managers, yes. And so we opened the positions for Queens and Brooklyn area sales manager outside from PNB, private banking. That's when we interviewed a whole bunch of people. Ace was the final hire for our area sales manager for Brooklyn and Queens.
That's so
when I
funny.
met Ace.
So me and Ace, just to give you a little history, right before he did that, I was doing a lot of business with Ace at that time.
At Bank of America.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
And Jeannie and I met with him in Bayside. He wanted to tell us and make sure it was okay that, he made the jump because he wanted to make sure that we were okay giving our business to Wells Fargo. And I remember looking at him like, why are you asking? He was so much of a gentleman, the same as you. He was such a nice person. He wanted to make sure he kept all his relationships intact, that he went with every single mortgage broker and asked them if this was okay. And it was the right move. He got their advice. And I just remember that. And I was just sitting there going, this is a great opportunity for everybody. And, obviously it did work out for everybody. I'm so happy for that. But after that, Ace brought me into Dottie. That's a whole different story when they were trying to get me out of Keller and go work for Element. And that's a whole nother podcast to talk about. It was funny.
100%. But sometimes you make decisions. Everything is a choice. Every day you
Correct.
make big choices, big decisions, small decisions. But that was a crucial decision, no doubt.
But, I remember talking to Ace about it, talking to Sean about it, because me and Sean became friends. I think we just started meeting at that time, right? Because that was...
Yeah, because I think Sean...
He was in Bayside at the time with me.
Yes.
Right? He was doing the Bayside
He
Market
was-
Center when I was in Bayside. And then when I moved out to Long Island, when I left Bayside and went to Long Island, me and Sean, I guess, I don't know if it was you and Jeannie that became tight or me and Sean, and then...
I believe that was you and Sean first, and because Sean wanted to
I just took over the Market Center.
put salespeople to help and trying to do business with with your market center. And actually, when you and Sean met, I was still running ops. I was Sean's ops person, so he won sales, and I won his whole pipeline.
That's
You
right.
know, at the peak of the market, we had 6,000 loans at any given time. That was my pipeline.
Wow.
I had around 55 processor works for me, and I had to go to 12 different locations. But back then, I even cover all the way from Brooklyn to Queens to Long Island to Southampton. So that was my whole entire processing center, local processing.
That's amazing. How did you do it all? Like, how'd you manage all of that?
Time management is something you would learn, but then on the other hand, you also kind of see everyone's side, And then I believe with hard work, eventually you gain people's trust, and they know you, and it helps a long way. Absolutely.
What was that like? Did you have to build your own team from scratch, or did you have
Yes, that was in 2009 when I actually when I got hired. That 4.5 hours interview, that was like, hey, we need to build a local processing. We have nobody. You need to start from scratch. So I was working for 2 months for finish up Emmett's pipeline, and then hiring people like crazy interview, every day is interviewing different processor experience and then build up different plays, go to different locations to sort out the location where we're going to open the processing center.
Wow.
And it was crazy.
So what was the more difficult part, opening up and doing all of that, or the appointments where you had to meet with people to put them into positions?
It's actually neither of those are difficult. I'm a builder. I actually always can build something. I enjoy the process.
Okay.
It's to maintain and take to a different level is always the most difficult
So
part,
you're exactly like me,
right?
almost identical.
Right.
Love
Because
to build it.
Yep.
The maintaining part is the tough
it's
part.
always a challenge because you cannot do all by yourself anymore, right? You have to
100%.
delegate people, and you need to have the ability to identify who is the best fit for what job, and you can build trust. They can gain my trust as well in return to let me believe they can take it without me micromanaging. Because as you know, your schedule like crazy.
Yep.
They're only 24 hours a day, no matter how wealthy you are, whatever it is, you have to know when you can, what you should do on your own and when you can delegate.
I believe that. Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. So, okay, so now you're moving, shaking, you're doing your thing. And take me from like 2015 to, I guess, 2021, because you were at Wells for...
I was at Wells from 2009 to 2017.
17 it
I
was.
decided to move out from the operation role to sales in 2015.
Okay.
Because of the planning. My son will be going to college in 2017. I know that based on, even though I am being recognized in national level at Wells Fargo with my work, with everything, there's still a ceiling. No matter what you call, sales always drive. Operations always a cost.
I think I remember a conversation between, I don't know if you remember this, me and you crying about our kids going to school at the same time.
Yes,
Remember
yes,
that?
I do. I
Nina
remember.
went to school at the same time as you.
It's crazy because that's how fast the time goes. I
So
remember
funny.
I was very upsetting. As a single mother, you want to do anything you can for your child, and I, although I went to the bureau, but I couldn't finish because work just consumed me. It's just what I do,
Yep.
and so that I couldn't graduate. I'm so close to all my credit, but I couldn't graduate. So having my son go to college was never a part that you negotiate. It was already given.
That's right.
And then, so I just need to figure out what is the meaning. And I told myself that I would want to give him a chance to go wherever he wants to go, not how I being dropped off in front of bureau.
Yep.
This is where you go.
That's where you're
I
going.
did not have a choice. I don't know nothing, and I just drop off right there and go to the administration office and do whatever. So I knew it's going to be expensive. I knew my salary at Wells, no matter how good I do, would not be able to support the style. So I give myself 2 years cushion. So let me get out from 2015. 2017, it will be first semester coming.
Sure.
Give me 2 years to build, to set myself a place I can pay for his college. That's when I left Wells in 2015, and I mean not left
The
operations,
operations, yep.
yes, and moved to sales. And that's when I moved to sales in March. Sean hooked me up right away to go to your office
Remember that.
within the same month. Because there were 5 people rotating in the
That's
real
right.
estate
Remember that?
in that office. And
And you were probably the best
I
one.
was one of the one that are the 5 rotations, and I remember my first meeting with you, first meeting with Linda. It was a very memorable day.
I remember that too. And I remember at the end when 5 was too many, and I remember fighting for you and making sure that you were that one person that stayed in our world. I remember Linda arguing, and Sean had no doubt. He knew that it was the right fit. Not to knock anybody else, but you were just the right fit at that time. And we had a pretty good group.
Yes.
We had a very good group with the 5 people, but it was just not enough work to go around. We were too early in the game to have the 5. So anyway, you go from 2015, you're killing it in sales. You're going 100,000 miles a minute, and you're creating this pipeline. What happens next? Like, where do you go from there?
Well, so when 2017 came, I was already doing pretty good. Consider I was new to, but I knew the business. I just never have any relationship, right? So you have to build one relationship at a time. And then that was when Sean decided that would be a better fit to where we are now.
Correct.
And-
Valley.
At Valley, yes.
So this is 2017.
17, yes.
It feels like yesterday. remember having
It's already, I know it, but it was like, oh my God, it's 2025 coming,
It's
you know?
insane how quick it goes. I remember having a conversation, I'm pretty sure he would too, at the Giant game with Ed about that. And I remember just all the confusion. I just remember thinking, these people must be really good, for this. And so you make your move, and you're rocking it from there. So from 17 to 25, you're working with Valley. Did your life change in any way from that time?
Yes. Until you left a place, you look back, you really do not know the environment. Just like you smoke, you're in a room of the whole smoking. Everyone smoke. You just get used to the smell.
Sure.
Right? You just not even understanding until you left the room, and then you just, oh my God, it is so much different. So I would say that after we left, I think I see that there's so much more. The ability, the culture is very different. I mean, every day I'm still very grateful that we did what we did because of him. I just knew sometimes just you have trust, right, with your
Sure.
partner. I would say I have a lot of trust in Sean that if he made that decisions, that got to be a good reason. I did my due diligence, but follow the gut. And we have the ability to, we are big, but we're small enough. Compared to what it was before at Wells, there were so many roadblocks. There are so many red tapes. You cannot just get something done so easily. Everything is a challenge. Everything is a difficult thing. I couldn't get a business card with Chinese name on it. I was just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I was in, 2015, right? I want my business card with Chinese, my name on. I couldn't get one. I said, how many Chinese loan officers in the whole entire Wells Fargo? Doing 200 million, 600 million a year. You're saying that person cannot get a business card in her Chinese name or his Chinese name? That makes no sense. So many things are so hard, but then that move, everything is so much easier now, but we do have the ability to do things that like a big bank.
Mm-hmm.
We do loans for the whole country. We have, a bad phone with Sean, so easy. Like, hey, we have this going on. That makes sense. What can we do? So I would say that looking back, the culture now is a lot more positive.
And it was a different place too, right? Wells was going in a different direction. They were looking to go, right? They were looking to go more
and more conservative,
yeah.
more and more, because there's so much, because all the things that's a place that I still have a lot of high regard. That was part of my
Sure.
history. But the fact that is, I believe it has changed a lot because of a lot of lawsuits. Legal department become
that.
the one that, because it's a lot of money. Remember how many billions of dollars they have to pay out?
Yeah, I remember that.
But it all starts from the culture, and going back to a telephone system, we say, right, up there, whenever I went to any national conference, I can tell that up there, the top side has really good idea. But when the system is so big, when the telephone system go one, translate, the whole message has gone and changed.
That's right.
And we down there just totally looking up as a different message. And so the culture is so much high pressure.
Wow.
You're always doing something wrong if you're not meeting the goal. And so when people feel pressure constantly, sometimes they do the wrong thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I just had this conversation a little while ago and a couple of days ago with a few people, almost identical conversation. So I understand what you're saying. So what can we look forward to the next year with you? Like what can we expect with you and your world and for 2025? Can't
Yeah.
believe we're saying that word, 2025.
I know. 2025 is a big year.
Yeah.
I would say that we are constantly looking for a different, what can we do more to help them shape the market, right? There's a need that may not be other real estate, other mortgage company cannot touch. So I think one thing with Sean and our legal counsel always trying to find how can we actually expand our products to touch more consumer, help our referral partners to grow together more. And I think that is a driving force, very different than now where we are, than where we couldn't do before. So, coming up this year, I know we already just have the enhanced medical professional programs that other banks just do not take care, or have programs for physician assistants or nurse practitioners that will be treating as the same program as doctors and dentists. So that's something that we just enhanced to a more aggressive, smaller down payment to a higher loan size so that it can fit what we here in New York demographically, the price point. And then we continue to enhance with technology because, right now we talk about this, right?
Right.
Everything is social media. Everything has to be, fingertips easy. So we continue to invest into the bank, invest a lot of money in the platform to upgrade how to make everything so much easier from banking to making a payment to the auto loans to the mortgage, investing into our servicing department, how to make our servicing department to have a much more updated technology to help customer who needs their mortgage servicing needs. So we'll continue to expand into different areas from commercial loan to a lot of residential mortgages. And that is what I foresee 2025 will be, a lot of innovative technology changes.
So I know you don't have a crystal ball here. What do you see the market doing? What do do you see the rates? Where do you see the rates going?
Yeah, this is
And
the
I know you
most
get
popular question
it's the question
every
everybody
day.
asks,
I always tell people.
And you always get
I wish-
different answers too. It's interesting. That's why I love asking the question. Everybody's different.
I would say that we are not going to see, one thing I always tell everybody, I do not see that in my lifetime. I really do not hope that in my lifetime that the interest rate will go back down to the 2-3%,
1,000%.
because that only means bad things.
That's right.
So healthy interest rate will be between 5 something to 6 something. I think that will be reasonable, right? But you kind of give and take. When the interest rate go up, that means when the interest rate go down, that means your savings, the interest rate for your CD, everything goes down as well.
Sure.
You cannot have the cake and eat it too. So there got to be a balance. For my humble opinions, we don't have the ability to take a chance on collapse again in the housing market. So interest rate and the housing market relate to a very important piece. I would say interest rate is not going to go down much more. It may pick up a little bit. The next couple of months going to be interesting. As we all know, election is over. A lot of people still get confused at how the Fed cut will have something to do with positively to the mortgage interest rate, which is not. But I think that the next 60 days, it's going to be very volatile. It's going to be up, it's going to be down. So if you are in the market, it's like gamble.
Yeah.
Right? I am a more conservative. If within your closing day for 30 days, if you are in the position to lock in, lock in. Do not wait till I'm thinking 2 days before the closing. If the rate drop lower, let's just get a lower interest rate. You're not talking about 0.5% different.
Yeah, it's nothing crazy.
And I always tell my customer, don't worry, you're not keeping the mortgage for 30 years.
Right.
Stop stressing about that. You're going to keep this house based on each one. Some average is 7 to 8 years.
Right.
People's going to refinance anyway. So don't worry about what you are. Get in first. Stop paying your rents that has no way to return. And then that will only be a positive thing for you. So I don't think interest rate is going to go too much one way or the other the next couple of months till 2025.
That's awesome. Yeah, I say the same thing where, just get in and you could always deal with the rate later on.
Yeah.
I believe that.
It's a mindset. The less you talk about it, emphasizes it, the most important that people would not just stress about that.
That's right. So I'm basically getting a single to wrap this up. I know you have other things to do today, so I want to thank you for coming. It was great getting to catch up with you again and talking to you. Just regular conversation. I love talking to you on a daily basis. You're one of my favorite people in the world. One of the things I am looking forward to is December 5th, the holiday party, and thank you so much for being a part of that. I look forward to seeing you there.
Look forward to clean up.
There you go.
Party with the agents, and that's something I look forward to every year. Just cannot believe every year we get more and more people.
It's crazy, right?
It's insane.
We went from that little office in Williston Park to where we are today, and it's because of people like yourself, like Sean, and everyone else out there. I'm so grateful, and I thank you every day for doing what you did and being partners with me in so many different ways. Love you guys. Look forward to doing this again. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and thank you so much, Kennis.
Thank you,
This
Wish.
is great.
It's our honor. Thank you.